Hey there, and welcome back to episode 7 of the Power and Potential podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about how I have successfully transformed my life by losing 30 pounds, which is crazy to even say out loud because it was never intentional. It was never like, oh, I need to transform my life. And I certainly did not know how all of this would play out. But the impact that this weight loss has had on my life so far has been absolutely unreal. And I'm honestly only like a third of the way to my goal. So my goal is to lose 100 pounds. And I've lost 30 pounds, just over actually, but the impact has been incredible. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit. So as you listen to this, whether or not weight loss is something that you're striving towards, I want you to actively listen out for all of the things that apply to the transformation that you want to embark on. So it could be your family, it could be your career, it could be your business, it could be your relationships, it literally could be anything. But I want you to listen out for the pieces that really, really relate to your transformation. And I'll give you a hint. It's all about the mindset. So keep your eyes, not your eyes, you're listening to a podcast. Keep your ears open for all the mindset hacks that you're going to hear in this episode. So let's get into it. As you know, weight is such a taboo topic, right? It's not something anybody wants to talk about publicly. For me, it was my biggest source of shame. It was my biggest insecurity and one of the things that I always struggled with the most in my life. So to avoid dealing with all those horrible feelings that came with being overweight, I would just avoid the issue altogether. I literally pretended like it didn't exist. So to give you a little bit of history, in case you're curious, I was always a skinny kid, so I never grew up having weight issues. I started gaining weight as soon as I hit puberty, and it was a very, very slow increase over the next 25 years, pretty much, which brings me till now. During high school and university, I knew that I was a bit bigger, comparatively speaking, but I still really liked the shape of my body, and I appreciated and loved my curves, and I always knew how to dress myself in a way that I could still feel confident and feel beautiful. So at that point, it really wasn't affecting me that much. Like I was still feeling pretty good in my own skin. I just knew that I was kind of like a little bit like less healthy, I guess, than everybody else. But as the years went on, that became more and more difficult. I was finding it really hard to actually appreciate my body. I would look in the mirror and see this body that wasn't mine. I'd just be like, that is not me. And I'd see a person that wasn't me. Like it would actually make me so sad because I wondered how I got here and why hadn't I been able to stop this from happening. But it just continued. So I'd feel that, I'd look in the mirror, I'd feel like crap, and then I'd start avoiding mirrors and all that stuff. And it just went on and on. So a couple of times I started to be proactive about my health and I would start making healthier choices, but it would never last long. Something would always happen, usually some kind of like emotional event or something that triggers me, that throws me off track. And I'd go right back into emotional eating, and it would take months or even years to even give it another shot. Over the years, I somehow convinced myself that I would never be able to lose the weight and be the person I know that I am inside. And I didn't even know that I believed this. I didn't know that I had this belief in my head. But over the last year, like from now, like a year ago till now, I have been doing so much work on myself and really trying to understand my mind and understand what's living in my unconscious mind that's actually like taking the driver's seat in my life. And because of that, I started realizing that if I didn't have such a belief, I would have changed my life a long time ago. These types of limiting beliefs have all the power over us, especially when we don't even know that they're there. So anyways, at the end of July of this year, 2018, I was visiting my parents and all of my siblings were there. And my sister, who had just gotten married about a month earlier, announced that she got her wedding photos. And so we were all super pumped and we gathered around her laptop to take a look, like take a sneak peek, right? And so I couldn't believe how big I looked in those pictures. Like I literally looked like I was 6 months pregnant in most of them. And I found it shocking to see what I looked like. I almost felt like I was somebody else looking in. Like it's weird. It's like when you look in the mirror, I don't know. It was weird. It was a very weird experience. It was like I was an outsider, like I was someone else. And I could finally see what I looked like to other people. And I just felt so distraught by that. And I was super disappointed in myself. And in that moment, something really strange happened. I could just feel the fire in my belly kind of being lit. I started thinking things like, what the heck? There's no way that I just have to sit back and accept this as my reality for the rest of my life, right? Like, I refuse to continue to live in a way that even I don't approve of. Like, I knew all along that I didn't approve of my behavior and the way things were happening day to day in my life in terms of my diet and lack of exercise and blah, 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 right? So in that moment, I was like, I refuse to let this be my story. And I am the one that gets to make this decision. I get to decide how this story is going to end. And that was the day that I committed to making a change in my lifestyle. I made a commitment to change my diet right away, which I'll get into in a second, but I also started paying attention to my mind. Every time I would reach for something quote unquote bad to eat, my mind would tell me, dude, don't do that. Why would you do that to yourself? You know it hurts your stomach. Why do you continue to harm yourself? And I would hear that little voice and completely ignore it. I was completely ignoring myself all along. I was living against the way I knew deep down in my core that I should be living. And I learned that that voice inside of me always knows what's right. That's my intuition. It knows what I need to do in any particular moment because it's not jaded by my conscious thoughts or my subconscious thoughts. It just is. I needed to train myself to listen to that though. And that was the hard part because I had conditioned myself already to just ignore all of those thoughts, right? And just move forward. That was one of the bigger things that I had to work on. As for the diet itself, I started following the ketogenic diet along with intermittent fasting. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically a drastic reduction in carbs and a drastic increase in healthy fats. And then you have a moderate amount of protein. So without getting super technical, it basically breaks down to 5% of your calories coming from carbs, 20% comes from proteins, and 70% comes from fat. So that's what I was doing since July 30th. And I would basically eat all of my meals in an 8-hour period. So my window is almost always 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. But that might change now that I started recently working out and I work out in the morning. So I might have to adjust a little bit. It might be something like 8 to 4 or something, whatever works. So the first week was pretty rough. Like I was extremely low on energy and I needed to nap like 3-hour naps in the afternoon every single day for that first week. It was really, really rough. But I had read about it online and I knew that there's something called a keto flu and this is what happens. Like your body is adjusting from using carbs as energy. So, this is what we've been taught and this is how we've trained our bodies is to use carbs as our energy source. And basically when you switch to the ketogenic diet, you're training your body to use fat, the body's fat, as their energy source. So that transition is it's kind of a shock to the body, right? So you end up experiencing all these crazy things. And so yeah, the first week was definitely hard, but I knew it was going to end. And I was hoping it would end sooner than later. And luckily it didn't last that long. After that, like really after the first week, I started feeling so much better than I had ever felt before. It was crazy. And it was really magical all at the same time. I wanted to share with you some of the things that I noticed about my physical and mental health that resulted from this change in diet. So this was before actually losing the weight. So I'm talking like right at the beginning, when I had just made the change to in the food that I was eating. The first thing that I noticed was that I wasn't starving all the time. And so people always think about intermittent fasting and they're like, oh my God, you can't eat for 16 hours in a day. Like you must be starving, right? And what I learned is that the reason why we always feel hungry or the reason why we always feel like we need to snack is because of the fact that we're consuming carbs. And so the way our body processes carbs is that, we have this energy spike and then we have a dip. And when we have the dip, that's when we right away go out and seek more food, right? So the fact that I had cut down my carbs completely and almost all of my carbs, like the 5% that I was consuming was coming from veggies or like healthy sources, right? If I was going to eat some berries or like something like that, but always healthy sources. So, and it was always 5% or less. So that made a huge impact. So basically when you have more fat in your diet, you end up getting full and you feel satisfied and you don't get cravings. Like I stopped craving things, which is insane. I mean, for me, it was pretty insane. So yeah, I was having basically 2 big meals for the most part and I would be full for the rest of the day. So it simplified food for me so much. And on its own, just that in and of itself was a huge win. The second thing is that I had so much more energy throughout the day. So I never felt the need to nap. I never had like those energy dips right after lunch when you're like, oh my God, like I just need an hour to just chill out or whatever. I was productive in ways that I had never been before. And it's crazy because like you don't actually realize, like when you're living your day-to-day life and you think you're normal, you don't actually realize that you're not functioning at your optimal, potential, essentially, because you don't know what it feels like to be anything else, right? So it was crazy to feel these big changes because I wasn't feeling groggy anymore and I didn't have brain fog. And if you guys have ever felt brain fog, you know how much it really, really sucks. So that's that. And then the third thing that I think was the absolute best thing that I've received from changing my diet, and it's crazy because it wasn't even on my radar, was a relief from my anxiety. So I've been dealing with anxiety for years, probably since university, and I've never been very good at self-care. And so self-care is something that like I've really been focusing on a lot in 2018, and it has made a huge difference in my life, and it makes a huge difference on my anxiety. But it was crazy to see how changing my diet really impacted my anxiety. It was cool because it wasn't one of those things where, like online you'll read about keto and how it affects your energy and all this stuff and how you feel full all the time and all that. Like all that I expected, which is great. But I hadn't read anything about anxiety. So it was almost like a bonus, like a perk, and no one had put it in my head that that's what I was going to feel. So the fact that I felt it was like pretty incredible. These days I feel way more centered, way more grounded, and I feel like I can't be triggered as easily by random things that happen throughout my day, and I just feel so much calmer. So that has been like the best thing that has come out of switching my diet to keto. And to be honest, like I don't know if it is keto necessarily, like the actual label of the diet, or if it's just the fact that I have completely switched over from eating like crap food, like completely processed, all the bad stuff that we shouldn't be eating. That's essentially all I was eating, 100% of what I was eating, right? And so now I've completely switched over to all like whole and fresh food. So it could just be that, right? And I know that food has a massive impact, but I was actually shocked at how big of an impact it had on me. So those were the main things that came out of changing my diet really quickly after making the change. And then there were so many more things that go deeper than that. And those are a direct result of my decision to take control over my health. And I want to share some of those things with you too. So thanks to my new level of energy, which I talked about, I have been able to focus so much more, and I've been way more productive, and I've gotten so much more done. The other thing that is super powerful is that, and this one is really deep, is that now I believe that I can achieve anything. Like really in my mind, there is no stopping me now. Now I'm like, if I can lose 30 pounds, I can definitely lose 100 pounds. And if I can do that, I can literally do anything I put my mind to. And that is the real trick. This is one of the main things I want you to take away from this episode, is that you have to believe in yourself. And I know that's all cliche, but it is truer than anything else I know to be true in this moment. It is so true. It's not even funny. What you believe about yourself is the most important thing for any transformation that you want to make in your life. You have to believe that you can do it. You have to. Without it, you'll never be able to do it. So the other thing that I've been able to accomplish through this kind of transformation is I've been able to show up in my business in ways that I never could before. So I get on camera almost every single day on Instagram. And if you are on my Instagram, then you probably see some of my stories. And I record this podcast every single week, which has been so fun. The interviews have been amazing, and even the solo episodes give me a chance to actually share more of myself, which is something that I've been working towards for years. So I'm actually making massive amounts of progress. And I stay in touch with my email list, which has always been a struggle for me, but I'm finally doing it again. I was really good at it in the beginning, and then basically in between then and now, I ended up taking a break and fell off again, quote unquote, fell off the wagon. And now I'm back at it, and it's really good. And you know what's interesting is that I'm not showing up, like kind of doing these videos and showing up on the podcast and all that because I feel like I look better. That's not what it is at all. It's actually because I believe now more than I did before that I actually have a lot of value to offer. I believe that I can make other people's lives a lot better. I feel that I'm worthy enough to show up and serve you. And before, I kind of often felt like a fake. Like, if I couldn't even achieve my biggest goals, this is what I would think in my own head, right? Like, if I couldn't achieve my biggest goals, who would ever believe that I can help them achieve theirs? You know, and it's this imposter syndrome thing where it's like, who am I to be able to make this kind of impact in other people's lives? And it's funny, to actually say that out loud and think about it, because it's pretty obvious that I've helped a lot of people achieve their goals through coaching, through my courses and workshops and my consulting and all the things that I do, right? I help people battle these same mental blocks that I was facing and the same ones that I had overcome in the past with other transformations that I had done in my life, right? But I felt that I had to accomplish this transformation with this particular major life issue in order to convince myself. And that's what it's all about. It's about convincing myself that I had the power to actually help people in the masses. Like, I want to make a huge impact in the world on a huge scale. That is my dream, right? And in order to be able to do that, I had to be able to transform my weight and my health and actually really kind of let it sink into my own head that, yes, I can do this. It comes back to that belief in yourself and that confidence that you can actually accomplish it. And so because I've managed to lose 30 pounds and I'm like, okay, if I can do that, then I can do anything. Now it's like I have this new sense of worthiness and a new understanding of my value and the impact that I can have on other people. And that's what makes me show up every single day in brand new ways. And it's been so much fun. As a result of that confidence and this really strong belief in myself, I started being more courageous. This is really important, right? I started being bolder. I started approaching people that I wanted to do business with and not be scared. I mean, maybe I felt fear, but I'd still do it. That's the bottom line, right? It's like, you're still going to feel scared about things, but if you're brave enough and you're confident enough, then you're still going to do it, right? And I started putting myself out there and going after what I wanted and what I finally believed in my mind that I could actually get. And again, it comes back to believing that you can, right? Really changing my diet and showing myself, proving to myself that I have what it takes to change my diet, to change my lifestyle, to live the way that I want to live has really shown up in my life in so many other ways. Because now I can do so many more things because I believe that I can, you know? So it's like really, really intense, actually, the impact that this has had on my life. And I'm still, like I said, it's only been 30 pounds and I have what's my math is bad, 70 pounds left to go. And so there's going to be tons more impact. And I'm super excited, right? This is just the beginning and I'm already seeing how it's playing out and it's just been amazing. So the last thing I wanted to mention about the impact that it's had on my life is that, you know, I've talked about productivity. I've talked about showing up. I've talked about being courageous and bold. I've been in business now for almost 3 years. And in the last 3.5 months, since I started taking care of myself on a very serious level, with my food, and I just recently started exercising. So really it was more of like a mental shift and a shift in my diet. Just 3.5 months that I've been doing that, I've made more money than I have the whole past year in my business. So in 3.5 months, I made more than the 12 months that came before that joined together. Like, that's insane. Like, that is the power of believing in your own ability to accomplish what you want. You know, that's what confidence and courage can get you. Like, I can't even begin to fathom that. It's just so amazing and bizarre and so awesome, right? So it's just like, we have to start looking at ourselves, right? Like, we have to unlock the potential in ourselves by starting to look inside our minds, understanding our unconscious thoughts, knowing what limiting beliefs we have, so that we can start to get over them and let them get out of the way and get ourselves out of the way so we can actually start achieving our goals and achieving our dreams, right? We all have a transformation we want to make in our lives. I know that you do too, because I know that you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't. You know what that transformation is, and you have a pretty good sense of what the first few steps look like too. So I have a question for you. Why aren't you taking them? Do you also believe on some level that you would never succeed? Or that you could never make it happen, or that you would fail and then you would be devastated and then the worst case scenario might happen, or whatever it is. Let me tell you that if I could change my eating habits and if I could actually make this kind of progress, me, of all people, who was like really, I had just like the worst eating habits of all time. You can do anything that you want. Anything. Like, I cannot repeat that enough. You literally can do anything you want. When you think of the transformation you most want in your life right now, what are the things that are stopping you from getting there? Why are they stopping you? Right? That takes you one level deeper. Why are those things stopping you? What gives them the power to stop you? Think about it. Dig really deep. Dig as deep as you possibly can. More likely than not, you're going to find that you are in fact stopping yourself. You've given power to these limiting beliefs, just like I did. We all do this. It's not just you. People have accomplished incredible things under the most difficult circumstances ever. And I know that you can think of examples of that. That means you can do it too. It's all about our mindset. And we have to be able to tune into our own minds and figure out what those limiting beliefs are so we can get them out of the way. You need to believe that you can do anything you want. You really need to believe that. You need to believe it so hard that it's literally in your blood and bones. And once it's in your blood and bones, then there is nobody that's going to be able to reach it there. No one can access it. No one can take it away from you. You do absolutely have what it takes. Stop telling yourself that you don't think you can, or that you can't handle whatever it is that you need to do to get there. You can. Just start. And then watch. Day by day, you'll start to see the impact of your actions. Over the first 3 months of changing my diet, I lost 31 pounds. And I am so proud of myself for that, because I know that for so many years, I only dreamed about doing that. And now I'm finally actually doing it. Transforming your life does take work, and it does take time. But the one thing no one is talking about is that it takes you getting out of your own way. It takes you believing in the fact that you can make that transformation. It means believing that if you fall off the wagon, that you will treat yourself with compassion and get right back on. It takes you trusting yourself to be courageous and brave and to go so far outside your comfort zone, knowing that whatever it is that comes your way, you're going to be able to handle it and you're going to come out on top. I am here for you, okay? I want to be able to support you in the biggest transformation of your life, whatever that might be. It could be your health, your career, your business, your family. Literally, it could be anything. Every single transformation that you are going to take on will need this level of self-confidence and conviction that you have what it takes. Can you tell that I get really excited about this? I want to hear all about the transformations that you're working on in your life right now. Come on over to Instagram and send me a direct message and let me know what you're working on. What is the big transformation that you are working through right now, or the one maybe you haven't started, but you really want to start as soon as possible? I want to hear all about it. So come on over. I'm serious. I want to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I can't wait to give you an update on my weight transformation in a few more months. I know that my journey is not even close to being over, and neither is yours. I cannot wait to see what's in store for the both of us. I'll be back at you next week with another incredible interview that you definitely don't want to miss. It's amazing. So I will see you then. Bye for now.